Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel TechDataEngineer. So in today video we will see the concept related to DBT. What is DBT? Why that is useful in case of transformations? Why we are using in the project analytical project nowadays? Okay. So in this video we will see the concept related to DBT. What is the project architecture of DBT and how DBT help to transform our data in the data warehouse. Okay. So DBT is basically stands for data build tool. Okay, so DBT is a open source tool. It's basically a command line tool, right? You can run in through the UI or you can run in through the command line. Okay, so it is basically a command line tool that enable data analyst or data engineer to transform data in their data warehouse. Okay, so this is not a ETL tool because in case of ETL, so why it is different from ETL? So in case of ETL, there are three things: extract, transform, and load. Okay. So first you have to extract the data from source, then you are transforming. Transforming is mean like you are checking the null values, removing duplicate, any other things if it is there, you are transforming and then you are loading the data. But that data is not fully compatible with the analytical things. Okay, so that data is not business driven data. Okay, you can't get insights from that data. Okay, so what is DBT? So DBT is basically that help engineer to transform data in their data warehouse. So that is compatible with BigQuery, that is compatible with other data warehousing solutions. Okay, so in case of ETL, we have the extract transform load, but here the DBT stands only the transform in case of ETL process. That focusing only on the transformations of data that has already been loaded into the warehouse. So you don't have to worry about loading the data or other things. You need to only take about the transformations part. Okay. So that help to transform raw data into clean, reliable, or analytical ready data. Okay, so you can get insights from that. So I'll recommend before going to this video, first I'll recommend go through the SQL series because DBT is totally based on the SQL things and Jinja templates. Okay, there are two things we are using here. In case of DBT, if you are beginners and if you wanted to learn DBT, then you have to be very good in the SQL and you need to understand each and every concept related to SQL, how you are writing the query, what is the nested query, and then you need to write the Jinja templates. Okay, these two things are important before proceeding with the DBT. Okay. So why DBT is important? Okay. So DBT is not only require only help to like transform the data in our data warehouse. Apart from that, it has the other things related to how we are developing the software. So it has the version control. You can test your data. You can do the documentations of your data pipeline. Okay. So these are the things which is available with the DBT. Okay. So the version control is there, testing is there, documentation is there. Okay. So ETL with DBT, like we are data is extracted from the source like Postgres, Kafka API, and then data is loaded into the database like BigQuery, Snowflake, Redshift. So DBT is compatible with all three, and DBT handles the only the transform part. Okay, it converts the raw table into the useful data set. Okay, okay. So now coming to the some important concept related to DBT and why DBT is important. Okay, so as we know, we have the traditional ETL tools like Informatica, Talend, or we have the customized PySpark code also, which help to transform our data. Okay, so, but DBT make transformation like it's totally the SQL based. Okay, so that is easy for analytics. You don't have to write the code. You can control the versions also. You can create the data model. You can create the models. You can create the macros. That is the functions in case of DBT. So you can control the versions also. Like now we have the different versions. Now there are certain changes with the functions or model. We can create the different versions. Okay, so version control is one of the feature here that is automated and reproducible. Okay, testable. So they have the test features also. Like you can define your test and you can go with it. So there are two things. One is the customized, one is the available test cases. Like availables, we have like data should not be null, particular column should not be null. We can define the domain specific thing, and then we can generate the document also, so that auto documentation with lineage. So these are the features we have in the dbt, which was not in case of etl, and etl is different from this dbt. So you understand dbt is something like we are transforming the data in the data warehouse. Okay, so data warehouse, and that is support with BigQuery, Snowflake, Redshift, and many more data warehouse. Okay, so what is the general data DBT workflow? So DBT workflow is like we have the raw data that is already loaded into data warehouse. So DBT project organize data into .SQL model. So as I have already told, so DBT have the two main concepts. One is the macros, which is basically based on the Ginger template, and one is the model. Model is not like it's like a .SQL file, okay? Because we are writing the SQL things. So DBT, so whatever the SQL code we are writing, that is the .SQL model, okay? Then we can run the dbt. So when we will run the dbt, it will create the view or table with clean and transform data. Then if required, we can test and we can do the documentation. So these are the dbt workflow. Okay, so now so now we have the I'll take the example of one e-commerce company. Okay, so I'll take example and then I'll proceed further. So we have a BigQuery. Okay, that is the raw data in the BigQuery. We have the three table. BigQuery table. One is the order, they have the raw order data, and then we have the customers data, we have the product data. These are the raw data. Okay, so how we are defining the model? So what is the DBT model? So DBT's model is nothing but it is a .SQL file. Okay, so how we are creating the file model? So we have the structures in Git repo like a model, and under that we can create the different model like clean model, raw model, optimized model, final model, something like that. So how we are creating the model? We are not doing anything. We are just doing the select statement. Select o.order ID because that is the raw data from, and then we have the customer ID, o.customer ID, c that customer name, p dot product name, order name, quantity, and then we are referring the order. So ref means reference. So it is referring the order data set. Okay, this reference to customer means it is referring the customer. So we have the functionality also. So we can define the multiple data model, and in one data model you can utilize the other data model. So same here we are doing. We are referring the order model. We don't have to again bring each and every data. You can like whatever the SQL transformations or model we have, you can utilize that model in your current model. Okay, so we are using that by the help of reference functions. Okay, so referring order, and then we are writing. So this is basically our, you can say that is the model that is called clean model. So clean model is nothing but we are combining this three table order, customer, and product, and we are defining something based on that. That's called clean model. Okay. So model is because that is a SQL file, so we are defining it as a model. Okay. So refer order. So DBT know this model depend on the raw order table. So that's why we are here taking as a reference model. So DBT build DAG of dependencies. It create DAG also. Okay. Then we have the features like I have already defined like test cases. So we under the test we can define like models. The name is clean data. So we have already created the model like clean orders. Then so if I wanted to perform certain test on that, so how we will define here? So suppose I'll define a parameter like a column, then we are passing the name is order ID. And what are the test cases I am passing here? Not null and unique. So it should be not null and should be unique. Then again we have the name equals to total amount. So what is the test cases we are passing? Not null. So if I am defining the test here in case of DBT Git architecture, repo architecture, so it will check this column order ID and total amount, and based on that it will test the data. So you don't have to worry about the things. You can just define your test cases and your data testing would be done also. Okay, so that is also one of the benefit of DBT. Now, what are the command to run the DBT? We have the DBT run, that is basically to run SQL transformation. Then we have the DBT test to test the data quality and all, and dbt doc generate or dbt doc serve, that is for generating and leaning the document. Okay. Okay. So these are the concepts we have. Okay. So, now then we have the result table. So clean orders have the table view created in BigQuery, and then analyticals or whatever the lookers or table or Power BI, we have analytics tool that will take the data from that. Okay, so though no messy SQL in the dashboard, all business logic is centralized into the DBT and you can deploy anywhere. So that is the benefit from that. And what are the key point remember in case of DBT? So DBT doesn't store the data. One is the benefit of that. What is the other benefits? So that is they create the data model in DBT, and they have the dependency management, version control. These are the things they have. Okay. So now, in case of DBT, we understand what is the benefit of DBT, what DBT does, what is the ease with DBT, what is the key feature of DBT, and what is the data model in case of DBT. What is the model in case of DBT? Now we will understand the different things. So I have already benefits. I have already defined centralized venture control, automated lineage, automated testing, scalable with the different data warehousing like BigQuery, Snowflake, and Redshift. Okay. So now, coming to the in shorts, DBT is it's like basically a combination of Git for version controlling, SQL that is for analyticals, and Yeast for writing. Testing, we have we can test the things also while defining the test cases, and then we have the documentations for data transformation. So these are the benefit in case of DBT if you are using the DBT. Okay. Now, coming to the next thing. So I have already explained what is model in DBT. So model is nothing but it's like a .sql file that contains SQL statement. When you run the DBT, it will create the materialized view, table or view inside your data warehouse. So that is the simple thing. So we need to understand the model is it's like a model is a data transformation step. That is the .sql file. Okay. So we have already seen that. Now coming to the macros. What is macros in DBT? So, as we are aware, what is function? So function is it's like a reusable code. We are writing a block of code and we are using that multiple time and we're calling the functions. So how we are writing the functions in Python or any other language, Java or any other language. So same things is called macros here in case of DBT. So macros is nothing but like a functions for DBT. So macros in DBT is like a function, and that is based on the Jinja, a template language for Python or SQL. That is basically based on the written in Jinja. Okay, so that is called Jinja template also. So that help us to avoid repeating codes. Obviously, it is a function functionality. If you're writing the function, you don't need to write the code again and again. So that help avoid the repeating codes again and again. That allow dynamic SQL generations. Okay, so it will generate the SQL code also useful for a reusable business logic. So if you are using the multiple things, so you have defined the multiple macros under your project and you can utilize in your model whenever you are writing the model. We will see with the examples also. Okay. So for now, understand the macro is a is reusable SQL template or functions. Okay. So example of macro. Suppose I wanted to truncate some timestamp. Okay, or something from the timestamp. So how we'll define? So it is like a we are starting with the curly braces percentage macro timestamp trunk. So we are truncating. So column name we are passing when we are passing the data part. So we are passing the data truncate date part and then column name, and we are ending with that end macro. Okay. So this is the definition of macro. This is the template of macro. We are defining the macro. So how we are using the macro? Using macro in the model. So suppose we have the daily sales.sql model. Okay. So how we are writing select trump timestamp trump. So we don't need to again write the logic for that. We have these functions and we have these functions, and we can suppose we have this timestamp.trump functions. Okay. So these functions we have. we can call it directly here timestamp and trunk. Okay, and then we are writing the definitions here. So based on that, it will from the order date, it will finding the date and store as a order day, and it will complete the things. And then we have the reference also, reference clean order. So it will referring the clean order model. Okay, so this way we are utilizing the macros under the model. Now we understand the what is difference between model and macro. So obviously we know model is like a that SQL file with select query, and macro is based on the Jinja template. Jinja templates we are starting with the percentage and writing. It's like a functions. So what is the purpose of model? So model is like what data looks like. Okay, we are defining what data looks like, and macros is like something like it's like a reusable logic to generate the SQL dynamically. Okay, then we have in case of model we have the table view in the warehouse, but in case of macros we don't have no table, just it's like a code expansion. Okay, both is starting with both ending with a .sql file because we are writing the SQL code only, so that both have the extension of .sql. So these are the difference between them. Now we will understand the project structure here. Okay, so project structure is basically if we are defining any project. So under project we have the model, macro, seeds, snapshot, dbt project.yml where we are writing the configuration like this project is running in which environment, which parameter, dev, so build or int or productions. Okay, so based on we have the data project yml. Apart from that we have the test also, so we have the other things, test file also which we are helping to test the data. Okay, so this is the basically a file structure, so you can add or delete something based on your requirement. So this is the generic git repo structure if you are like creating any project from the scratch. Okay, so now we have already seen DBT, then we have the project structures. I am explaining the project structure. So model we have like a SQL model, macros with the Jinja macros. So what is seeds? Seeds basically the CSV to load into warehouse. So if you are using some CSV, we can use the sets. What is snapshot? Snapshot is basically it's a readable file that will help to track the historical changes. If you are talking about something SCD, like slowly changing dimensions. If the dimension is getting changed or data getting changed over the history, so we are writing the snapshot. Then we have the test. Like so test is two type. We have the custom test or inline in schema.yml. So we are using that things, two things in case of test. Okay, then we have the dbt project.yml, that is the configurations file, like which particular environment using, what are the parameter we are passing through the code, everything we are defining under that configurations file. Okay, I have already explained the model, so no need to explain again. Okay, and now coming to the reference. So what is reference? So reference is basically that is used to reference the another model. Okay, so how we are defining the definitions would be select star from reference clean model. So if you wanted to refer the clean orders, I don't want to write the entire logic from scratch. I'll refer the clean model, and whatever the logic it is written in the clean model, clean orders, it will refer that logic. Okay, and based on that you can. So reference function is help to refer the another model. Okay, that is helpful in case of DBT. Okay. And what is sources basically? So sources basically like define where raw data comes from. Like if we are defining the schema.yml and they are defining the sources like name equals to raw, schema is equal to raw data, table equals to order. So based on that, you are using the SQL query like select star from source equals to raw order. So basically sources help to understand the from where raw data is coming. I have already explained the macros, so we can see that things. So what is macros basically? Now coming to what is Jinja templating. So Jinja templating, DBT uses Jinja for loop conditions and dynamic SQL. So how we are writing the loop in case of Python and all. So for creating the functions, we need looping, we need conditioning things. So these are the we are following in case of Jinja templating. Okay, like it's like for column in order ID, customer ID, and amount, and then we are writing this logic. So for any looping related things, we are following the Ginger template for creating the macros. Okay, so macros before Ginger basically using used to create the macros. Okay, Now, what is the test? So, DBT ensure data quality. So, which built-in or custom test. So, you can define your custom test also, and what are the built-in functions we have. You can define in schema.yml and you can run. So, we have the model, we have the column. I've already explained like order should not be null or unique. So, based these are the test cases. They can run the test and DBT by using the command like DBT test. Okay. Now, next concept is seeds. So, what is seeds in case of DBT? So, seeds is nothing but it's like a CSV file. Okay, seeds can be loaded as a table like DBT seeds, like from where data is coming. So, it is basically referring to the CSV file under that. Okay. Now, what is snapshot? So, snapshot is basically changing the historical data that will track the how data change over time. So that is used for slowly changing dimension and that is read only. So as we already know, BigQuery snapshot. So BigQuery snapshot is nothing but we are taking the read only data. We are creating the copy of that entire data set that is read only. So snapshot is basically help to track the slowly changing dimension thing. Okay, and these are the structure of that percentage snapshot, customer snapshot percentage. Then we are defining the configuration, like which table, where configuration is, where would be the target schema, what is the unique key, what is the strategy, on which column, what is the update ID and updated ad. So based on that, we are defining the snapshot. Okay. Now, what is the hooks in case of DBT? Okay, so that is run SQL before or after a model build. So that is basically hooks. Okay, so we have the my project. So post hook, we are writing a grant select on this to something role. So for that, we are using the hooks. Okay. What is package? So package nothing is like a package manager. Okay, so package manager like how we have in Python we have peep, we have npm. So for installing any extra macro like dbt utils and all, we are using the this package. Okay. So this is the package things. Documentations I have already explained. Documentation so for DBT auto generate doc or lineage, we are using the DBT doc generation. So if you wanted to generate the documentations or you wanted to create some visualization tag, we are using the documentations feature. Okay. Now then we have the advanced concepts like incremental model. So how we are handling the incremental data. Then we have the exposure, like how our data is getting exposed to the BI dashboard and all. So these are the concepts related to this. Then we can deploy the our whatever the DBT we have, you can deploy through the either Jenkins, GitHub Actions, Airflow, or DAG, anything you can deploy if you are building your model and every and macros, and then you can deploy. You can pull like you can commit your code and then you can deploy. You can trigger your GitHub from anything, GitHub Actions or through Jenkins or through Harness, anything you can deploy that. Okay. Okay, so we have the two things like dbt cloud and dbt core. So dbt core is basically open source and CLI command based, and dbt cloud is basically hosted as a SaaS, okay, software as a service, and they have the UI scheduling, job monitoring, and as a team collaborations also. So you can use both the things, either dbt core or dbt cloud based on your requirement or readiness in your project. Okay. So that is these are the concepts related to DBT. In our next lecture, I'll explain certain project. I'll take a project and then I'll define the Git repo structure, and then we will see like how we are triggering and each and everything. So I can't showcase anything from how from running or deploying the code and the running, but yeah, I'll explain something from the VS Code, like how what is the structure, how we are writing the code and all in our next lecture. Okay. So thank you. Thanks for watching.